The Dallas Cowboys are sending the NFL a scary message, so we're going to be going through that and 3 other stories in today's video. So make sure to like this video, and if you want more Dallas Cowboys news content like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel by hitting that red button down below. The first story is, Cowboys are secretly asking Trey Lance for insight as Dallas prepares for San Francisco. Dallas Cowboys backup quarterback Trey Lance will make his return to San Francisco on Sunday as his new team takes on the San Francisco. Cowboys offensive coordinator Brian Schottenheimer hopes the former San Francisco quarterback can provide some insight. Trey knows a little bit about what they're doing, Schottenheimer told reporters Monday. The cool thing is, like I said, the Cowboys know them well. I know them well from being in Seattle. Trey knows them well. Like last week, it's kind of in good fun and humor. We all use pieces that we have in place, but we don't go too far into it. We can know exactly what they're going to do, because they don't do too much. And they're still really, really tough to go against just because they're so talented. We'll definitely talk to Trey. He knows a lot of the pieces going against them in practice, but it doesn't always help, as we learned Sunday. Through 4 weeks, the Cowboys have shown their defensive dominance. Most recently, Sunday's 38-3 blowout of the New England Patriots. It's clear that Schottenheimer is not relying too heavily on the information that Lance can provide, but it can only help. The third-year quarterback spent his first 2 seasons in San Francisco before being traded to Dallas in a preseason deal. Lance knows the ins and outs of the San Francisco offense, and after throwing against the San Francisco defense in practice, he will also be able to provide tips to Prescott and the Dallas offense. Week 3 couldn't have been more painful for the Dallas Cowboys defense after they surrendered 222 rushing yards, 180 in the first half, in a stunning 28-16 upset defeat at the Arizona Cardinals. Their Week 4 performance back home at AT&T Stadium wiped the stain of that disappointment off with a dominant defensive downpour against the New England Patriots in a 38-3 victory, the most lopsided loss of Bill Belichick's career as an NFL head coach. Dallas's energy returned on defense as it forced 3 takeaways, 2 of which went for touchdowns. As far as takeaways go for the Dallas defense, when it rains, it pours. It's all about the bounce back, Dallas Cowboys linebacker Micah Parsons said post-game on Sunday. When things hit you in the face, it's about adversity and coming back from it. That's what true champions are better at. Anyone can come in and win games, but once you face adversity and look in a man's eyes and say, "We're going to get better," adversity makes true champions. That collective buy-in for the Cowboys' entire unit to be willing to grind and not blame any specific individual for the Week 3 letdown is why they were able to come back and look like their assertive selves in Week 4, according to defensive coordinator Dan Quinn. "Yesterday on Sunday, that was us," Quinn said on Monday. "The energy, the hitting, the ball hawking, flying around and creating that speed, that is us. That felt more like our style and attitude. That felt really cool to see. I said to you last week, this is a group of warriors that I am certain will respond in the best way. And I saw that in a lot of instances and a lot of areas. One thing I respect about them is there was never time to point a finger at anybody else. We were all upset, myself included. But it was with ourselves, not one another. That part we took very seriously, and I was certain we were going to have a better performance. We didn't have a lack of confidence. We were just so bummed with how it went," Quinn continued. "I was certain we would respond the right way. I liked how practice looked. I liked getting into the game, the mindset to go. You never know how a game is going to go. To get a takeaway and a score was one of the game changers. The energy, the hitting, the speed. I knew that part would be right. It was good to see that for sure. It gave us confidence and reassurance that every time we go, that has to be the way we go with the speed and effort and finishing. That's the part that makes being part of this group so fun." The Cowboys' current defense joined the Iron Curtain Pittsburgh Steelers as the only defense since the 1970 AFL-NFL merger to lead the NFL in takeaways in consecutive seasons, and they certainly looked like it on Sunday. Defensive end Dante Fowler strip-sacked Patriots quarterback Mick Jones, and the football rolled into the arms of linebacker Leighton Vander Esch, who returned the fumble back 11 yards for a touchdown. On the ensuing extra point attempt, holder Brian Anger hit Cowboys lineman Chauncey Golston for a wide-open 2-point conversion on the fake, running the Dallas lead up to 18-3. The second story is Dallas Cowboys wide receiver Michael Gallup is rumored to be back in full form. You may be unfamiliar, but Marvel has an animated show called What If that ponders hypotheticals within their overall cinematic universe. A friend of mine suggested I check it out, and it was certainly worth having on in the background, but if you aren't all the way caught up on the Marvel movies, it may not hit the same for you. No worries, this isn't about that. When it comes to the Dallas Cowboys, one of the bigger what-ifs we have been talking about for a while now was what if Michael Gallup returned to his proper form? You know, the one that existed prior to his injury that came in the penultimate week of the 2021 regular season. The Cowboys clearly believed that this was possible given that they gave Gallup a second contract last offseason. Obviously, the 2022 campaign was a difficult one for Gallup. It was delayed at the start on his road to recovery, but even when he was back, he wasn't really so. We may only be 4 games into this season, but it seems like we are starting to see the MG-13 that we all remember fondly. Being fully transparent, we started to have this conversation last week here on the site when the Cowboys could not get it done against the Arizona Cardinals. We noted that one of the lone bright spots in the performance was Gallup's play, and physical play at that. Another week later, winning ways reestablished, the flame took, and we are starting to nurse it with materials like people in the fire-making contest of the New Age version of Survivor. Gallup had another productive day last week against the New England Patriots as he snagged 5 receptions for a total of 60 yards. Looking at just these 2 games against Arizona and New England, we have a total of 11 receptions for 152 yards for Gallup. This is noteworthy. Why are we calling attention to this? Gallup's 11 receptions over this 2-game stretch are the most that he has had in consecutive contests since Thanksgiving and the week after in 2020, and the 152 yards are the most in back-to-back games since the final 2 of the 2020 regular season. Obviously, Gallup's injury did not occur until the end of the 2021 season, so he was still in proper form for that entire year. But we have gone about a year and a half without seeing consistent success like this, even with defining consistent in the smallest possible way of 2 straight games. Interestingly enough, Gallup was not looking great at all prior to this particular 2-game stretch. After the team's Week 2 win against the New York Jets, the folks at Sumer Sports had him ranked dead last among receivers in yards per route run. Gallup thrived as a bit of a deep thread in the earlier days of his career with the Cowboys. And while nobody is suggesting sending him all the way downfield, his physical presence allows him to shield defenders a little bit further away from the line of scrimmage. That physicality is also translating into Gallup simply catching the ball, which is obviously a fundamental aspect of being an NFL wide receiver. According once again to Sumer Sports, Gallup is 11th in overall catch percentage with a mark of 76.5%. Consider that 10th on the list is his teammate in CeeDee Lamb at 76.7%, and that the first person beneath him is Devonta Smith of the Philadelphia Eagles at 75.9%. No one is trying to race to any conclusions or declare anything silly. But all of this information matches what we are seeing through these last few weeks, which suggests that Gallup really has turned a corner. Jerry Jones knows exactly what the Dallas Cowboys are up against when they face San Francisco this Sunday at Levi's Stadium. But despite calling San Francisco the favorite to win Super Bowl LX on Tuesday, the Cowboys owner and general manager feels good about the matchup. I look at it as we know they're one of, if not the, teams who are playing the best right now. Jones told 105.3 Show. They're solid in their personnel, so they're one of the best teams. A win against them would be inspiring, and it would be substantive. It's what it is, and we are going to have to go by them beginning Sunday. And if we have aspirations, I think we'll have to go by them later in the year. Jones doesn't view the upcoming Week 5 clash as a test or a measure of where Dallas stands talent-wise, but defeating San Francisco less than a year after they eliminated his team from the playoffs for a second straight season certainly would give the Cowboys a clue of how their postseason aspirations measure up. Make no mistake about it, they are a tremendous team, outstanding defense, and will challenge us as much as anybody that, frankly, we've been challenged with this year or any other year, Jones said. The third story is Jalen Tolbert emerges as wild man on Cowboys special teams. Jalen Tolbert wanted this job. On August 29th, when the Cowboys traded cornerback Kelvin Joseph to the Miami Dolphins, they created a fairly large void on special teams, particularly in punt coverage. Tolbert noticed. A day later, the wide receiver sat at his locker and expressed interest in replacing Joseph. "I hope they call on me," Tolbert said. "That's something that I want to be able to take over. And I want to take over. I'm going to continue to work on the special teams aspect, just as I work on offense. Last year was disrespectful. Myself, Tolbert said. I owe it to myself. I'm going to continue to grow and continue to get better, however I can to do my 1/11th for this team. The Cowboys turned to Tolbert for that role, and they are glad they did. In the September 10th opener, he recorded a tackle against the New York Giants on the Cowboys' first punt of the season. He made a more resounding impact Sunday when dropping New England Patriots punt returner Demario Douglas for a 2-yard loss during a 38-3 win. That punt net 57 yards and pinned New England to its own 10-yard line. 2 plays later, defensive end Dante Fowler strip-sacked quarterback Mick Jones. Linebacker Leighton Vander Esch recovered and returned the fumble 11 yards for his first touchdown since high school. Tolbert produced on offense, too. The 2022 third-round pick,